Diane, now I can't find Frank. Do you know where he is? That man's never there when you want him.
Frank?
She looked innocent. She played the piano like an angel, and she murdered without flinching. Angel Face wasn't just a film noir. It was a psychological knife fight wrapped in a murder trial. But behind the cameras, nothing went smoothly. The director terrorized his star. The leading man tried to walk off set. And one scene, they shot it so many ways even the studio couldn't decide which version to use. These are 20 weird facts about Angel Face. And the bonus, a piano that became more dangerous than the actress playing it. Buckle up, this ride gets dark fast. Number 1. Robert Mitchum didn't want to be there, not for a second. By 1952, he was Hollywood's coolest leading man, the guy who could sleepwalk through a role and still steal the movie. He'd just wrapped a string of successful films and wanted a break, maybe a vacation, maybe just time to breathe. But RKO Studios had him locked into an ironclad contract, one that gave them complete control over what he filmed and when. So, when Otto Preminger came calling with Angel Face, Mitchum said no. The studio said yes anyway. They didn't ask, they didn't negotiate, they just told him to show up. And Mitchum, trapped by the fine print, showed up angry. He walked onto set, already hating the project, already counting the days until it was over. He didn't hide it either. In interviews later, he admitted he thought the script was cold, the character was flat, and the whole thing felt like a waste of time. But here's the strange part. That resentment, that exhaustion, that barely concealed contempt for being there, it bled into his performance. And somehow, it made Frank Jessup, his character, feel more real. A man trapped by circumstance, going through the motions, unable to escape. Mitchum wasn't acting, he was surviving, and the camera caught every second of it.
You hate that woman. Someday, somehow, you're gonna hate her.
Number 2. Jean Simmons was terrified. She'd been cast as Diane Tremaine, a beautiful, manipulative young woman who may or may not be a murderer. It was a dark, complex role, nothing like the innocent heroines she'd played before. And her director, Otto Preminger, had a reputation, not a good one. He was known across Hollywood as a tyrant, a screamer, a man who broke actors down until they gave him what he wanted. Simmons had heard the stories, but nothing prepared her for the reality. From day one, Preminger was relentless. He criticized her delivery, her movements, her choices. He'd make her repeat scenes over and over, sometimes 20 takes or more, without telling her what was wrong. Other times, he'd yell in front of the entire crew, humiliating her until she was on the verge of tears. And that's exactly what he wanted. Preminger believed that fear created honesty, that if he pushed hard enough, Simmons would stop acting and start reacting. And in a twisted way, it worked. Her performance in Angel Face is haunting, fragile, unsettling. You can see the tension in her eyes, the uncertainty in her voice. She's not playing vulnerable. She is vulnerable. Every moment on screen feels like she's one wrong move away from breaking. And maybe that's because she was. Preminger didn't direct her. He dismantled her. And the film is better and crueler because of it. Number 3. The script wasn't finished when they started shooting. Not even close. Writer Chester Erskine had been brought in to adapt the story, but deadlines were tight and the studio was impatient. So they did what Hollywood does when time runs out. They started filming anyway. Some days, actors showed up without knowing what scene they were doing. Other days, Preminger would hand them rewrites on scraps of paper minutes before the cameras rolled. Robert Mitchum later joked that half the movie was made up on the spot, and he wasn't entirely wrong. But here's where it gets interesting. That chaos, that lack of structure, it gave the film an unpredictable edge. Scenes felt loose, dangerous, like anything could happen, because the actors genuinely didn't know what was coming next. Dialogue that should have been polished felt raw. Moments that should have been rehearsed felt spontaneous. And the ending, one of the most shocking finales in film noir history, wasn't even in the original draft. It was added late, rewritten multiple times, and shot in a rush. Some say Preminger improvised it on set. Others claim Mitchum suggested the final twist. Nobody knows for sure, but what started as a disaster of poor planning became one of the film's greatest strengths. Because Angel Face doesn't feel written, it feels lived, dangerous, real. Number 4. The car was the real star, and it nearly killed someone. In the film's climactic scene, A luxury automobile becomes a murder weapon, rigged to plunge off a cliff and take its passengers with it. On screen, it looks seamless, terrifying, inevitable. But behind the scenes, it was a stunt coordinator's nightmare. They couldn't use a dummy car. It had to look real, move real, and the crash had to be captured in one perfect take, because there were no second chances. The crew spent days preparing, rigging the vehicle with remote controls, setting up cameras at multiple angles, calculating the trajectory down to the inch. When the day came, everyone held their breath. The car was released, it rolled, it picked up speed, and then it veered. Not much, just a few feet off course, but enough to send it careening toward a crew member standing too close to the edge. He dove out of the way at the last second, the car missing him by inches before it sailed off the cliff and exploded into twisted metal below. They got the shot. The stunt coordinator nearly quit, and Otto Preminger, watching the whole thing unfold, reportedly smiled and said, "Again." They didn't shoot it again, but the message was clear. In Preminger's world, nothing was more important than the shot. Not safety, not comfort, not even survival. Number 5. Jean Simmons played the piano in real life, and Preminger used it against her. Diane Tremaine is introduced playing Debussy, her fingers gliding over the keys with grace and precision. It's a beautiful moment, intimate, almost hypnotic, and it wasn't faked. Simmons was an accomplished pianist, trained since childhood, and when Preminger found out, he saw an opportunity. He told her she'd be playing live on camera, no double, no overdubs. Simmons agreed, thinking it would be a simple scene. But Preminger had other plans. He made her play the same piece over and over, take after take, long after they had usable footage. He'd stop her mid-phrase, make her start again, criticize her tempo, her posture, her expression. It went on for hours. Her fingers cramped, her shoulders ached, and still, Preminger kept pushing. He wanted her exhausted, frustrated, on the edge of breaking. Because that's the scene. Diane Tremaine is a woman who uses beauty and talent as a mask, hiding something darker underneath. And Preminger wanted that duality captured, not through acting, but through genuine strain. By the time they finished, Simmons was drained, physically and emotionally. But when you watch the scene, you can feel it. The perfection of her playing contrasted with the tension in her face. It's not just a character at a piano. It's a woman barely holding it together, and Preminger knew at the moment the cameras stopped rolling. And number 6. The original ending was completely different, and test audiences hated it. In the first cut of Angel Face, the story wrapped with a more conventional resolution. Justice was served, the guilty were punished, and the moral order of the universe was restored. It was safe, it was expected, it was boring. When RKO screened it for test audiences, the response was brutal. People felt cheated. They wanted something darker, something that matched the twisted tone of everything that came before. So, Preminger went back and rewrote the finale entirely. What he came up with was shocking, nihilistic, and unforgettable. The new ending flipped the entire story on its head, leaving audiences stunned and unsettled. Some walked out of theaters angry, others called it brilliant. Critics were divided, but nobody forgot it. And here's the crazy part. That ending, the one that defined the film and made it a noir classic, was never supposed to exist. It was born out of panic, out of a desperate need to fix something that wasn't working. And somehow, in the chaos of last-minute rewrites and rushed reshoots, Preminger created one of the most debated finales in film history. It's a reminder that sometimes the best decisions aren't planned. They're born out of failure, fear, and a willingness to burn everything down and start over. Number 7. Robert Mitchum and Jean Simmons barely spoke off camera. You'd think two leads spending weeks together on set would develop some kind of rapport, maybe even friendship. But that's not what happened here. Mitchum was sullen, distant, still resentful about being forced into the project. Simmons was intimidated, exhausted from Preminger's abuse, just trying to survive each day. They existed in separate orbits, only colliding when the script demanded it. And strangely, that distance worked. Their on-screen chemistry isn't warm or romantic. It's cold, transactional, dangerous. You can feel the gap between them, the lack of trust, the sense that these are two people using each other for their own purposes. That wasn't written, that was real. Mitchum later said he felt bad for Simmons, watching Preminger tear her apart day after day, but he never intervened. He stayed in his corner, did his scenes, and left. And Simmons, she never blamed him. She understood. They were both just trying to get through it, but that shared isolation, that mutual survival instinct, it created something unexpected, a tension that crackles in every scene they share. You're never quite sure if they're falling for each other or plotting each other's destruction. And maybe that's because the actors themselves didn't know either.
I tell you, it's no good. I'm not going to get involved.
Involved in what?
Number 8. Otto Preminger had a superstition about the number 13, and it almost shut down production. Preminger was known for being ruthless, but he was also deeply superstitious. He refused to shoot on Friday the 13th, wouldn't allow 13 people on set at once, and became visibly agitated if anything related to the number appeared in his day. During the production of Angel Face, a crew member made the mistake of joking about it, casually mentioning they were on day 13 of shooting. Preminger froze. He demanded they change the schedule, skip a day, anything to avoid continuing. The studio thought he was joking. He wasn't. He threatened to walk. Producers scrambled, rearranged the calendar, and technically labeled the next day as 12B instead of 13. It was absurd. It was childish. And it cost the production time and money. But Preminger didn't care. He believed in omens, in bad luck, in forces beyond control. And maybe, in his mind, the darkness of Angel Face, the twisted story of murder and manipulation, was the kind of thing that attracted bad energy. So he took precautions. Whether it worked or not, nobody knows. But the film did finish on time, and nothing catastrophic happened. Well, nothing beyond Preminger's usual on-set terror. Number 9. The courtroom scenes were shot in an actual courthouse, and real judges showed up to watch. Preminger insisted on authenticity, even when it was wildly impractical. So, instead of building a set, he convinced Los Angeles officials to let him film inside a functioning courthouse during off hours. The crew hauled in lights, cameras, and equipment, transforming the space into a working film set. But word got out. Local judges and lawyers, curious about the production, started showing up between sessions to watch. Some even offered notes, pointing out legal inaccuracies or suggesting how a real trial would unfold. Preminger listened politely, then ignored most of it. He wasn't making a documentary, he was making a thriller, but the presence of real legal professionals added pressure. Actors felt scrutinized, hyper-aware that people who lived this world were judging their performances. Mitchum later said it was one of the strangest shooting experiences of his career, delivering lines about murder and conspiracy while actual judges watched from the gallery. And Simmons, already fragile from Preminger's treatment, felt like she was on trial for real, which, in a way, she was. Every take was evaluated, every choice questioned. And maybe that's why those courtroom scenes feel so intense, so claustrophobic, because the tension wasn't manufactured. It was genuine. The actors weren't pretending to be under pressure, they actually were.
Somebody tried to murder her. She was hysterical. Who'd want to murder her?
Number 10. Jean Simmons almost quit halfway through. It happened during a particularly brutal scene, one where Diane breaks down emotionally. Preminger had been pushing her all day, demanding take after take, never satisfied, never explaining what he wanted differently. Simmons was exhausted, emotionally raw, barely holding it together, and then Preminger yelled at her in front of the entire crew, loud enough that people on other sound stages heard it. Simmons didn't yell back. She didn't cry. She just walked off set, straight to her dressing room, locked the door, and didn't come out. For 2 hours, production halted. Preminger paced outside, furious, pounding on the door. Assistants tried to coax her back. Mitchum, in a rare moment of solidarity, told Preminger to back off. But Simmons stayed inside, silent, considering whether she could afford to break her contract, walk away, and never look back. Eventually, her agent convinced her to return. Not because Preminger apologized, he didn't, but because walking away would have destroyed her career. So she came back, she finished the scene, she finished the film, but something changed that day. Simmons later said it was the moment she realized that survival in Hollywood sometimes meant enduring cruelty, swallowing anger, and doing the work even when every part of you wants to run. Angel Face didn't just test her acting, it tested her will, and somehow she made it through. Number 11. The film's title almost didn't survive the censors. In 1953, Hollywood was still operating under the strict Hays Code, a set of moral guidelines that controlled everything from language to violence to sexual content. And the title Angel Face raised immediate red flags. Censors worried it sounded suggestive, that angel combined with face implied something sexual or immoral. They pushed for alternatives like the Tremaine case, or simply Diane. Preminger refused. He argued that the title was ironic, that it captured the central tension of a beautiful woman hiding darkness beneath innocence. The battle went back and forth for weeks. RKO executives worried the fight would delay release. Preminger threatened to take his name off the project. Finally, a compromise was reached, sort of. The censors allowed the title to stay, but demanded changes to promotional materials. Early posters couldn't show Jean Simmons in anything they deemed provocative. No low-cut dresses, no suggestive poses, nothing that would reinforce whatever sinful imagery they believed Angel Face conjured. The result was some of the most conservative movie posters of the era, completely at odds with the dark, dangerous film they were advertising. But Preminger got his title. And decades later, it's the one thing everyone remembers, two simple words that perfectly capture the film's twisted soul. Number 12. There's a scene that was shot but never shown, and nobody knows why. Somewhere in RKO's archives, or perhaps lost forever, there's footage of an extended sequence between Mitchum and Simmons that test audiences never saw. According to production notes, the scene took place in Diane's bedroom, a quiet moment where masks slip and true intentions are revealed. It was reportedly one of the most intense scenes Preminger shot, taking an entire day to complete. But when the final cut was assembled, it was gone. No explanation in the editing logs, no memo from the studio, just an empty space where something significant used to be. Crew members who saw the dailies later described it as too raw, uncomfortable to watch, and crossing a line. Some speculated it was removed for moral reasons, that the intimacy between the characters violated code restrictions. Others believe Preminger cut it himself, deciding it revealed too much too soon, breaking the film's carefully constructed ambiguity. Mitchum, when asked about it years later, claimed he couldn't remember what was in the scene. Simmons refused to discuss it entirely, and Preminger took the secret to his grave. All that remains are cryptic references and call sheets, and the memory of a moment too dangerous to survive. Number 13. The film was shot in just 23 days, impossibly fast even by 1950s standards. Preminger ran his sets like military operations, no wasted time, no second chances, no room for error. Actors were expected to know their lines cold, hit their marks perfectly, and deliver usable takes immediately. If something went wrong, if an actor stumbled or forgot dialogue, Preminger didn't stop. He kept rolling, letting the mistake play out, sometimes incorporating it into the scene. This created an atmosphere of constant tension. Everyone lived on edge, knowing there were no safety nets, no opportunities to fix things later. And that pressure, that sense of time running out, seeped into the performances. Watch Angel Face and you can feel the urgency, the way scenes unfold with breathless intensity. Nothing feels relaxed or rehearsed. Everything moves with the momentum of a runaway train. That wasn't stylistic choice. That was necessity. They were racing against a clock that never stopped, shooting a dark, complex psychological thriller at breakneck speed. And somehow, impossibly, it worked. The film doesn't feel rushed. It feels inevitable, like every moment was always meant to happen exactly as it did. Number 14. Mitchum improvised one of the film's most famous lines, and Preminger kept it by accident. During a tense confrontation scene, Mitchum was supposed to deliver a scripted response, something formal and measured. Instead, exhausted and frustrated, he said something completely different, a throwaway line delivered with deadpan sarcasm. The crew laughed. Preminger yelled, "Cut," and prepared to reset. But when he watched the playback, something clicked. The improvised line was better, sharper, more honest than what had been written. It captured Frank Jessup's cynicism perfectly, the way a man trapped by circumstances might respond with dark humor instead of emotion. Preminger kept it, never telling the writers, never explaining the change. And that line, born from Mitchum's genuine irritation, became one of the most quoted moments in the film. It's a reminder that sometimes the best writing isn't writing at all. It's just a tired actor saying what a real person might actually say, unfiltered and true. Number 15. Jean Simmons wore the same dress in multiple scenes, and it was intentional. Costume designer Sheila O'Brien created a specific wardrobe for Diane that repeated key pieces throughout the film. The idea was to show how Diane uses appearance as armor, presenting the same carefully constructed image to the world no matter what's happening beneath. But the choice went deeper. That repeated dress, elegant and pristine, becomes increasingly unsettling as the film progresses. You start associating it with manipulation, with danger. By the final act, seeing Simmons in that same outfit triggers an almost Pavlovian response in audiences. Something terrible is about to happen. It's a brilliant bit of visual storytelling, using costume not just for character, but for psychological manipulation of the viewer. And Simmons hated it. She complained about wearing the same thing over and over, feeling like she wasn't getting the variety actresses usually enjoyed, but O'Brien held firm, and Preminger backed her completely. The dress stayed, and its repetition became one of the film's subtle but effective tools of dread. Number 16. The piano Simmons plays in the film had a dark history. It was a vintage Steinway brought in specifically for the production, and it came with stories. Previous owners, according to crew gossip, included a composer who died under mysterious circumstances, and a silent film star who allegedly used it in bizarre occult rituals. Whether any of this was true didn't matter. The rumors spread, and suddenly cast and crew treated the instrument with superstitious caution. Nobody would touch it except Simmons when cameras rolled. Stage hands refused to move it alone. And during night shoots, when the soundstage was empty and dark, people swore they could hear keys playing softly, impossibly, with no one there. Preminger dismissed it all as nonsense, but even he avoided the piano between takes. Years later, after the production wrapped, the Steinway disappeared. Some say it was returned to whatever shadowy rental house supplied it. Others claim it was destroyed, that RKO executives wanted it gone after too many complaints and strange incidents. Nobody knows for sure, but that piano, the one that helped create Angel Face's most haunting moments, carried its own darkness. And maybe, in some way, it understood the film it was part of. Number 17. There was no rehearsal period, none. Preminger believed rehearsals made performances stale, that the first take captured something raw and unrepeatable. So, actors showed up on set, read through scenes once or twice, then filmed. For experienced professionals like Mitchum, this wasn't unusual. He thrived on spontaneity, delivering consistent performances with minimal preparation. But for others, especially younger cast members in supporting roles, it was terrifying. They had no time to explore characters, no opportunity to discuss motivations or build chemistry. Everything happened in real time, under hot lights, with Preminger watching like a hawk. Some actors crumbled under the pressure, delivering wooden performances because they simply didn't have time to find the character. Others discovered something unexpected, a freshness that came from not overthinking. The result is a film with uneven supporting performances, but a raw immediacy in its leads. You're watching discovery happen on screen, actors figuring out who these people are in the moment, making choices without safety nets. It's dangerous filmmaking, and it doesn't always work, but when it does, when an actor like Simmons finds the truth of a character while cameras roll, it's magic. Unrehearsed, unplanned, unforgettable. Number 18. The film bombed at the box office initially, and RKO blamed everyone except themselves. When Angel Face opened in 1953, audiences stayed away. It was too dark, too ambiguous, too unsettling for mainstream tastes. People wanted clear heroes and villains, not morally complex characters operating in shades of gray. The studio panicked. They blamed Preminger's direction, claiming it was too European, too cold. They blamed the ending, saying it was too depressing. They even blamed Mitchum and Simmons, suggesting neither star had enough box office pull to carry a noir thriller. What they didn't blame was their own marketing, which sold the film as a romantic drama, rather than the psychological thriller it actually was. Audiences arrived expecting something completely different, and when they got Preminger's dark vision instead, they felt cheated. The film quietly disappeared from theaters, labeled a failure, forgotten. But then something strange happened. Years later, revival houses started showing it. Film students discovered it. Critics began reevaluating it. And slowly, Angel Face found its audience. Not the mainstream crowd RKO wanted, but a devoted following who appreciated its darkness, its ambiguity, its refusal to comfort. Today it's considered one of the great noirs, but in 1953, it was just another expensive mistake that nobody wanted to claim. Number 19. Preminger and Simmons never worked together again, and the reason was obvious. By the time Angel Face wrapped, their relationship was destroyed beyond repair. Simmons had endured weeks of psychological abuse, public humiliation, and relentless pressure. She delivered an extraordinary performance, but the cost was steep. When asked years later if she'd work with Preminger again, she didn't hesitate. "Never," she said. "Not for any amount of money." Preminger, for his part, claimed Simmons was difficult, that she required his harsh methods to break through her British reserve and find real emotion. He never apologized, never acknowledged the damage he caused. He went on to terrorize other actors on other films, his reputation for cruelty only growing. But something about Angel Face stayed with him. In rare reflective moments late in his life, he'd mention it as one of his best films, praising Simmons' performance with genuine admiration. He seemed unable or unwilling to connect that performance with his own brutality, to understand that maybe, just maybe, she would have been brilliant without the abuse. That recognition never came, and Simmons, who went on to a long and successful career, made sure their paths never crossed again. Number 20. The final shot of the film was captured in one take, and it had to be. Preminger designed it as a single, unbroken moment, the camera following action without cuts, building tension through sustained focus. It required perfect choreography from actors, precise timing from the camera operator, and absolute silence from the crew. One mistake meant starting over, and with the production already over schedule, there was no room for multiple attempts. Everyone knew it. The pressure was suffocating. When Preminger called action, you could feel the entire soundstage holding its breath. Actors moved through their marks flawlessly. The camera glided, and for 2 minutes and 17 seconds, everything aligned. When Preminger finally yelled, "Cut," nobody moved. They weren't sure if it had actually worked, if they'd really captured lightning in a bottle. Then Preminger smiled, just barely, and nodded. That was it. The film was done. Crew members exhaled. Some applauded. Mitchum walked off set without a word. And Simmons? She just sat down, staring at nothing, processing weeks of intensity that had finally, mercifully ended. That final shot, that perfect, unbroken moment, it wasn't just technical achievement, it was survival. Bonus fact. After Angel Face wrapped, the cursed piano disappeared, but Robert Mitchum kept something else. One of the props from the film, a simple cigarette lighter, used in several key scenes, somehow ended up in his pocket on the last day of shooting. He never returned it. Years later, a journalist noticed it on Mitchum's desk during an interview and asked about it. Mitchum picked it up, turned it over in his hands, and told a strange story. He said that lighter reminded him of everything he hated about making Angel Face. The frustration, the anger, the feeling of being trapped. But it also reminded him that sometimes the projects you hate most become the ones that matter. He kept it not as a trophy, but as a warning. A reminder that resentment doesn't always ruin art. Sometimes it fuels it. That lighter sat on his desk for decades. A small artifact from a dark film that nobody expected to last. And every time Mitchum looked at it, he saw Jean Simmons' face, young and terrified, and Otto Preminger's cruel smile, in a movie that somehow, against all odds, captured something true about manipulation, obsession, and the masks people wear. Angel Face destroyed relationships and tested limits, but it also created something that refuses to die. A film that started in chaos and ended in legend, carried forward by a stolen lighter and the memories of everyone who barely survived making it.